Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Recruiters with No Limits. Always live and never scripted. Here with my sidekick and co-host for 2024, Johnny Ruffini. What's up, brother John? Dude, I am pumped, and you probably know why. And we'll talk about that in a minute, man. So, hey, you ready for the new year or what, man?
Absolutely. Off and running. Never stops.
Exactly. And the guest we have today, Johnny, you ready for this, man? I got to introduce this guy. I mean, seriously, he's an executive coach. He's everywhere. He's a speaker across the country. He is the master of staffing mastery. Seriously, when it comes to sales, there is nobody else I can think of besides Dan Mori. Danny, what's up, buddy?
Man, happy New Year, boys. It's so good to be back. And everything is up, man. This is going to be a fun show and a fun year for sure. So I appreciate you guys having me back.
And brother, I got to ask you real quick. I love the new look. I got to say it.
Thanks, man. It's definitely outside the comfort zone for me a little bit. Sometimes you just got to push the limits, right?
There you go.
I love it. So Dan, let's just start into this, man. I mean, we got something coming up here in February, and me and John are so excited to be part of this. I mean, the Staffing Sales Summit. Just give us a little bit. How did you come up with this?
Yeah, man. So truthfully, it's something that I've actually wanted to bring to fruition for years and years. Coming from the sales side in my career, like I love learning. I love professional development. I love digging into, sales training. And I've read all the books. I've invested literally over $100,000 in sales training for my own professional development over the years. And aside from a handful of books like Tom Erb's Winning the Staffing Sales Game, which is an amazing book, aside from that, like it's very hard to find staffing specific sales training. Like there's only a little bit out there. And I know that all the conferences, they usually have like a track for like one workshop or one breakout session that might have to do with sales. And I just felt like salespeople needed something more. And I've always wanted that. And when I started talking to all of the staffing agencies in my network that's sort of in my orbit and hearing the concerns they had in 23 and those same concerns for 24 about it's a weird year and it's going to be a tough selling year, I realized that like now is the time to bring this to fruition, to actually get together the industry's top trainers, coaches, consultants on the authority of staffing sales training, put them all in one room and invite staffing sales professionals to Orlando in February and learn from the best and learn the skills, the strategies, the tactics that they're going to need to be successful selling this year. So I'm like, why not just run with it? So we're bringing a new conference to the industry, and it's focused exclusively on sales training and sales management training.
Awesome, man. I got to give a shout out, Johnny. Let's go. I mean, seriously, Dan, for you getting something like this together, brother, man. Shout out to you, man.
That takes some gumption to do, and it couldn't be better well timed, Dan. I mean, I agree with everything you just said, and it's been over the last year and going into this year, one of the things that we've heard repeatedly is it's harder to get business, and people forgot how to sell, forgot what selling is all about, specific to staffing. I love that you have a conference that's just focused on that one thing, because you're right. There's a piece of other conferences, but when you go to the big industry conferences, there's a little piece of sales, and then you've got everything else from recruiting to inclusion to training and development. It's like covering all the bases. Here, you've got everybody focused on, let's improve your sales game so that you can grow your company, and I think that's awesome.
And that's the goal. And the thing is, when I looked at it, John, and you and I spoke last week on this, is that it's not going to be hard to sell because companies don't need our services. Like the demand for talent is still as high as it's ever been, right?
Correct.
And for the most part, companies still actually have viable cash flows. So they actually have the ability to afford the service too. They're reluctant. There's a nervousness in the economy, the market, that's making people reluctant to actually make the investment for the talent that they need, right? So it's going to take a very specific sales strategy and some tactics and tools to kind of overcome that level of reluctance and build the trust and credibility with the employers to actually pay for your services, right? And those are some new skills that need to be taught, and that's where our trainers are going to be bringing that to the summit to teach.
Why do you think there's a reluctance? It's interesting. I always used to I grew up in the full desk model where you sold and you recruited. And, it's like, okay, companies, that company doesn't use recruiters. And my mind was, well, if you bring them the right talent, they're going to use a recruiter. It's like, you've got to be able to provide the solution. So it's not that companies don't use recruiters, but they're reluctant to use them, of course, because it's going to cost them money. But in such a high demand talent environment that we're in now, why do you think there's still a reluctance to spend that money?
So you hit it on the head. Of course, they would use a recruiter if they found the right talent, right? So the way that I look at this, I think there's two things really fueling the reluctance. One, I think staffing has shifted so much during the pandemic that the commoditization that we were already in full swing of became exasperated. And I think that it was harder and harder and harder for us to actually bring the talent to the clients. And it was harder to fill the open recs. And I think time to fill actually, lengthened a little bit. Job order fill percentages decreased a little bit in the industry, and I think there was a lot of, I'm just going to say, I'm going to call a spade here. I think there was a lot of excuses made like, hey, it's tough recruiting out there. It's so hard and all this stuff. So I feel like a lot of the clients weren't getting the value that they felt like they actually needed and they didn't feel like they were paying for, right? So that's one side of it. They didn't feel like they were actually getting the value. And they've heard the sales pitch over and over again. Trust me, we're different. We're going to fill your order. We're going to bring you this talent.
Boring.
And everyone's saying the same thing, which is the second reason that I think people are reluctant is everyone's saying the same old song and dance. Like, we're different. We can provide better talent. We've got better tools, better customer service. They're saying the same thing. And all of that does is it's the same song that they've already heard that let the client down in the first place.
Yep.
Right. And the agencies need to look internally and do what you guys are looking at, being better recruiters and providing better value and being obsessed with what the client needs. But then a salesperson needs to be equipped to sell based on value and get to that point to where the client actually understands the value that the agency can bring and why it's worth paying for. So those two things I think are setting up the reluctance right now.
Dude, I love what you said, Dan, 100%. And me in the field every day, guess what I hear from the clients all the time? Service, service, service. Salesperson gets the contract, pushes it off to the recruiter, you never hear from him again for like 6 months. It's that song and dance, that same email. They're selling bodies. That's what we don't do. And I'm glad about this because I think at the seminar and summit, you're going to tell them that there's other ways to do this. You just can't knock on the door and say, hey, I got staffing. Here's a stress ball.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, we got away from providing solutions and we got obsessed with pitching our services. And, sales at its core, I've always believed that if you're a good salesperson, you never have to sell a thing because you just, and tell me if you guys think that I'm totally off the mark or spot on here. We've evolved also as a society where everybody wants instant gratification, and that follow-up and the time it takes to get to know your client and understand their business. There's a lot of people that don't have the patience for it because they want the quick hit and move on.
Yep.
Yeah. So I agree with that, but also, John, with that instant gratification desire, salespeople are graded based on the number of accounts that they bring in, right? There's quotas, there's all this stuff. And when you actually set up a sales system that way, you start to diminish the value that you provide, and it stresses the salesperson to go out and get the business regardless. So sometimes when they're in there and they're diagnosing the client situation, they're going to start selling and pitching too early without fully understanding because they're not incentivized by having the best fit clients. They're incentivized by getting the clients.
It's a great point.
So they're not going to say no. They're going to basically, as I said for years, there's really three things that need to be identified in any sales call. Is there a problem? Is it worth solving? And can I solve it? And the salespeople typically get the meeting because there's a problem, right? They do a halfway job. Keep this show PG. We'll do a halfway job figuring out if it's worth solving, but they don't ever take the time to reflect as if they're the right agency to solve it. And I feel like if agencies would say no more often and actually only service the clients that they're really good at servicing, I feel like quality would go up. Clients wouldn't feel as the need to commoditize. They would feel like they're getting more value. And, it kind of helped the industry as a whole. But during the pandemic, business was hard to come by. So we had the scarcity mindset that I think Tom Erb is actually going to talk about this quite a bit with his sales mindset session at the summit, that we had the wrong mindset approaching the market. And we're just trying to get whatever business we can get. And that's just the wrong approach. In the long run, that is going to hurt agencies more than help.
100%. It's all about collaboration. I tell everybody all the time, you collaborate, just the BS, just talk to them right off the bat. Don't talk about staffing at all for the first 5 minutes. Get to know them.
Yeah.
All right, brother. So you ready to go to this lineup, man? I tell you what, Johnny, this lineup that Dan put together. I mean, let's just shoot this up here. Look at this. I mean, we got Tom, John, Jeff, Mark, Robert, Rob, and then there's another one, I believe, right?
We do. I actually got to update this again. We
Yeah.
finally locked in Kim Henderson from Cobalt Compass, and she's actually going to be talking about something I'm really, really excited about, because right now when we're trying to figure out how do we grow our business, sometimes you need to look at providing a different type of service to your customers. And one of the most kind of the fastest emerging and one of the fastest growing segments or subsegments of staffing is SOW, statement of work type business. And Kim actually has a master class that she teaches on how to sell SOW services to your clients and how to actually get this.
Wow.
And for those of you that are kind of looking at this like, hey, what statement of work business? How does this work? This is literally a bit of a hybrid subset of like the contractor work that sometimes companies don't have the budget for temporary staffing, you know, or that contingent workforce, kind of the traditional, but they might have the budget for project work to say, hey, we can put this off rate card outside of the MSP, outside of all this stuff. We can do it as a side project, SOW, statement of work, project work, and we can do it over here. And companies are starting to do this more and more and more. And most agencies aren't even aware of how to even put that on the radar or navigate it. So Kim, who's not even on that lineup, which is amazing already, is actually teaching that masterclass to tell companies how to go get that business.
Wow.
What a great addition.
That is going to be an attack for people that come to this conference. Seriously, John, you know that. With her advice, oh my God, that's going to be just boom, game changer.
Well, when you look at, again, what's out there, you know, what are the possibilities? How can we grow our business? And to your point, Dan, by adding someone like Kim on the docket there, she's exposing folks to things that they don't even think about. So the opportunities are there, and it's just a matter of educating yourself and then being able to apply them. And that's what this sales summit is all about.
It is 100%.
100% accurate there. And the one, and obviously they're amazing lineups, and the agenda is packed full with great sessions. But something that you guys have said multiple times that we talked about on here is like, why aren't people buying, or why are they reluctant to buy? One of my favorite sessions that on its face might not seem like a sales training session, but it's like playing 4D chess, is Rob Geis from Simple VMS. So for those that aren't aware, Simple VMS, I know in our industry, VMS might be a four-letter word, but Simple's a little different. Aviante acquired them. And what's really cool about this, Simple VMS sells to our clients, the staffing industry's clients. They sell to the employers that need a staffing program that supports multiple staffing partners, right? So they have the ear and the data of the actual buyer that we're all out trying to sell. And they survey these companies all the time. So Rob is actually going to be teaching a session. His masterclass workshop at the summit is going to be telling you exactly what buyers are willing to pay for, what the buyers actually see as valuable and are willing to pay for, and the things that they don't want to pay for, and the things that they don't seem as value. And the title of the session is actually Stop Selling What You're Selling and Start Selling What They're Buying, right? And he's going to teach us directly from the mouth of the buyers what they see as valuable. And the people that attend that workshop are going to come out of it knowing exactly what buyers want and how to present it to them, so they'll actually pay, you know, reasonable value in their pricing. So that's trying to solve that problem about that buyer's reluctance right now. We're getting Rob to come in and talk about that.
Man,
Well, and to your point, you know, start selling what they're buying. You got to tune in and figure out what they're buying, and you've got to invest the time to develop those relationships, to find out, all right, well, to your point, you know, is there something that's causing you pain? Is it something I can help with? But you can't get there right out of the gate. You can't start throwing the brochure in front of them saying, hey, look at all these features, without knowing what the issues are and what you need to solve and what they need from you.
Yep.
Spot on.
And you got to know the industry too. Like healthcare and light industrial, totally different. You got to learn that. Eat and sleep it, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, Dan. So these other guests, man, I mean, Tom, how did you get Tom and John? Let's talk about them. I mean, what are we going to think about?
Tom, obviously Tom's the guy. Tom is, you know, he is one of the most, you know, well-renowned, most high in demand speakers at these events. And I've developed a great level of respect and friendship with Tom, and he's really supporting what we're doing with the National Independent Staffing Association. Obviously, anything that champions improving and uplifting the industry, especially the sales sector, he's on board with. So he actually offered up to be available both days talking about things. He's actually going to he's our bookend. He's going to open the session up talking about sales mindset. you got to get your mind right if you're going to be successful in selling. And then he's actually going to close the session out on day 2 with his most popular talk that's getting just insane reviews right now about maximizing client relationships, right? Because if you're going to grow, you either have to get new clients or you have to get more from your existing clients. And he's going to be really hammering that last piece home. Like, how do you actually maximize your existing client and grow those relationships? So Tom was a big one, but he's a huge supporter of uplifting the industry. And he jumped in with both feet right out of the gate, which I'm incredibly grateful for.
I love it. Tom's a great guy. Seriously, we all know him real well.
Yeah.
Classic man. Go Mountaineers, man. He's a Mountaineer guy for life.
Oh, nice.
That's where he went to school, WVU. So now John from Aviante. I mean, that's a great.
So yeah. So a lot of people, if you don't know, because John focuses on selling enterprise level, to staffing agencies and selling the Aviante software. But a lot of people don't know this about John Rutten, that he was actually incredibly successful selling for some of the biggest staffing agencies out there. Like, he actually carried a bag, had to go out and get clients. He was a
Did not know that.
And he was incredibly successful at it. And he eventually got nabbed by Aviante to lead up their enterprise sales piece of it. But he did a talk. He's actually done this twice now. He basically ad hoc did a talk at the Aviante Connect conference, how to sell staffing services. And it was, I think there might've been 2 that had like near perfect score sessions across the entire thing. And his was one of them. Amazing reviews. So I'm like, John, you got to come present this. You and Erica present this to the Staffing Monthly group. It is one of the most watched, highest engaged sessions that we've had. And so many people have reached out to me being like, wow, that's amazing content. So I kind of begged Aviante to let me borrow John for a few days in February. And it was tough to get him to come from the Pacific Northwest all the way to sunny Orlando in February. But so he's coming out and he's actually going to be talking about how to actually sell staffing services. How do you actually build an effective cadence? What is the messaging that you need to do? He's also got a couple really cool techniques that I'm not going to disclose here that he teaches that are really, really powerful to help kind of get in and get more clients. But yeah, John he's a wealth of knowledge.
Looking forward to that.
Man, that's going to be action packed. And then,
yeah.
I mean, Jeff and Mark, come on, man. You got Jeff, man. Class act there.
So Jeff is somebody I had a chance to meet more recently, and I realized that he is actually like a data marketing nerd. And I hope he understands the respect I say that with. But he hit me with a topic when we were just kind of blue skying and brainstorming ideas. And he goes, Dan, this is great. You're getting all these people out there. But he's like, selling isn't just about carrying the bag anymore. He's like, there's so many different ways to sell, and you got to have a multifaceted approach. He goes, what about sales funnels? He goes, sales funnels is something that the industry doesn't really use very much. And they're very, very effective. And I was like, well, tell me more about that, because sales funnels are used in pretty much every other industry to actually drive sales and do lead generation, which as a salesperson, we all want more of. And he broke down this framework for how they actually implement sales funnels for staffing. And I was like, light bulb. I'm like, hey, Jeff, what are you doing in February, buddy? And so
the contract.
Yeah. So he's coming in to talk about how to actually set up sales funnels for the agency to actually attract, our buyers, our decision makers and clients to actually engage with us and create those nurturing, I guess, conversations before the salespeople go out and engage, which is just a huge part of it. And Mark, he's another guy that I met through the Aviante Connect conference. He's obviously a sought after leader with WinSource. He's been in the industry also, similar to John Rutten. Like, Mark actually carried a bag. Like, he was really successful in selling. And when his kind of career evolved, he went back to give back and did a consultancy, created WinSource. And he's got countless clients that this is what he does. He teaches them specifically how to grow and scale. And I asked him to come in because he has he's got a wide variety of topics, but he's got a couple sessions that are very specific to sales management, right? Like, I'm a big believer, like, there's no success without a successor. And if you want to grow your organization, you got to grow your people. Absolutely. So he's actually coming in and he's going to deliver 2 different workshops, one on each day, talking about sales management tools. Like, if you're a sales manager, what is the sales strategy? How has it actually changed based on today's market? And how do you need to actually plan and execute to manage your people to success? So he's going to be delivering that one. He's also going to be talking about how to onboard people, right? How do you actually hire and get and kind of ramp salespeople up to success as quickly and as efficiently as possible, which is, again, without that, then you're kind of in a tough spot. So we got Mark coming in talking about that, which is just big time.
Yeah, nice diversity, but again, all under the umbrella of sales in the staffing industry, which is awesome.
Yeah. Last one's Robert, man. I mean, great
Man,
organization.
this was a hard get because Butler Street is incredibly busy. They are just slammed. I think the industry knows we need to invest in sales training, and I think that's why Butler Street, being one of the premier organizations for sales training out there, is really slammed. So it was a tough get. We had to actually really juggle schedules around to try to make it work to get someone from Butler Street there. But again, industry leading sales training organization, and we actually picked Robert Reed. He actually does this workshop. It's literally next level masterclass that talks about negotiating your way through the toughest objections, right? And that's the hardest thing when you're feeling like market reluctance and prospect client reluctance. They're giving you objection after objection after objection because they've been burned by bad salespeople and bad service in the past. And you know what happens to the amateur salesperson? They get knocked out of the box. They don't even go anywhere. The mid-level salesperson can kind of navigate. They can kind of like bob and weave a little bit with the objection. But what happens? They go into the competing on price mode, right? The commoditization mode. And they're like, okay, I know that you don't feel good about this, but what if it was cheaper? Oh, you don't feel good about this? What if I go even cheaper, right?
And they have to devalue their services.
Exactly. They devalue the service to get to the level of the objections that are given. And Robert Reed is actually going to be talking about how do you negotiate your way through that so you don't have to devalue yourself every step of the way. Every time there's a new objection, how do you use that objection to really understand what's going on with the client business and understand what is the problem they're trying to solve and what is the value that your service can bring in solving it, so you can negotiate your way to a better value client agreement, and which I think is going to be so needed.
That's going to be awesome. And that's a famous name, by the way, anyway. He's not from Brady Bunch, is he?
Oh,
different Robert Reed. Different Robert Reed.
A different one. I had to say that. This is the sales guru.
Although I did learn, because I've seen Robert at various conferences, he was made for training and for the stage because Robert's got an improv background. So really? He is no stranger to the stage, and a good person when it comes to navigating conversations because of his prior life.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've seen his content on YouTube and stuff, and LinkedIn. So I definitely get that, but I didn't know he had a background in improv. That's fascinating.
We might have to have a comedy night, right, Dan?
Man, now we're gonna drag him up to it and see how good his improv is.
Improv is a great skill. Like, all this aside, for any professional, but specifically for sales, because improv, not so much, when you think of improv, don't think of the comedy club, the Improv. Think of improv being, okay, here's a topic, go.
Thinking on your feet.
You're in a group of people and you have to leverage off of each other and carry on the conversation and continue the conversation. It's a great skill to learn. I know many people that I'm friends with have taken improv sessions just to improve their public speaking and their communication skills.
Well, the number one thing is engagement, right? I mean, if you can't engage the crowd, that's the whole key with improv, man.
So maybe on the Sales Summit 2025, we'll get an improv master class going, headlined by John here.
Impromptu.
That is too much. All right, so we got to talk about this. I mean, it is limited. Look at this. Here we go.
Yeah.
Spaces. Look at this. So, man, we still got room, right, Dan?
We still have room. Things are filling up. Absolutely. We had to limit it because we picked a really cool venue. I will say I love all the conferences out there. Like, I love SIA Exec Forum is like next level, Staffing World next level. Like they all do these amazing conferences. But when I was kind of creating something new, kind of special just for salespeople, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So we picked a venue it feels different at Margaritaville, right? Like, this is the good time vibe. Like, if there was a hotel resort like built for the shark, like, it's this place right here. In fact, I think if I squint, I can see you right there by that third palm tree with a land shark in your hand there. But we picked this. They got all the conference space. Like, we're going to be fine there. But as far as the room counts, like, we couldn't go too crazy. So I did have to limit it to 100. So if people are interested in going, like, spaces are filling up, I would highly recommend that you actually go register and do this, because I believe that we've got a good chance of selling out here.
Absolutely.
And we are actually, I think the end of the month, I think we stop actually doing registrations at the end of the month. If I'm not mistaken, I got to double check with Margaritaville on that one. But
so how do people sign up? How do they get more information? How do they sign up?
So right now, and what I'll do is I'll actually put a comment, or maybe you guys can add it. There's a link on the National Independent Staffing Association, which is the kind of one of the founding sponsors of this event. It's on their event page. You can go to nisaconnections.com, click the events tab. You'll see it there. Just hit that. You'll see the information about the event. Go register. I will say that if you are any of our partners, like you guys and Aviante and Haley and Staffing Referrals and NISA, if you're members or have some sort of affiliation there are discount codes. So there's ways that you can actually save a little bit by being affiliated with some of these folks here. And I know there's more and more sponsors coming in as people are starting to catch word and they're getting on board with what we're doing here.
Nice.
So yeah, but that's how you get registered and get signed up. And I know if you do, I would say actually by January 22nd, I know for sure the special conference room rate goes away. So there's only about 2 more weeks of the special conference room rate. So I'd go sign up, get the booking link, book your room for when we're there. It's going to be, and if I can just really quick run through the agenda, because I know it just says the 20th to the 22nd. The full agenda is about to get posted this week. The 20th, that's a travel day. Typically, we're just doing welcome reception that evening. So we're basically bringing people in, providing hors d'oeuvres and drinks and networking, and just get a chance to kind of land, decompress, get to meet the speakers, meet other sales peers out there, just kind of settle in for a good time. And then the next day, it's going to be 2 full days of workshops and kind of conference agenda going essentially from, provided breakfast from 7:30 in the morning, all through I think the sessions end at 4:30 each day. So it'll be 2 full days of conference on the 21st and 22nd. So, and again, the full agenda will be posted here on the event page this week now that we've got Kim locked in.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, man. That's no easy feat to see, to see a dream of yours come to reality, but putting an event together like this, that takes some work. So kudos to you for making it happen.
Right. I got to give you a shout out, Dan. Damn, again, man, this is great. And this thing is, you're doing it Margaritaville theme. Come on, brother. I love you forever now, man. How can I not miss this? I'm ready to walk right there and get a land shark.
Is it safe to say there's going to be a shark in the water?
There might be
a shark attack.
Shark sighting. We'll have some lifeguards out there. We'll be good to go.
It's gonna be a blast. And you know what? For people like myself in the north, where it's like snowing right now, is going to be great in February to just get away.
That's why I did it, man. I know I was like, man, I should put this in the center of the country to make it easier for travel. But in February, when you get into the end of February, you're like, man, I just want to go somewhere sunny. And Orlando is a safe bet, and Margaritaville is just, that's where you want to be. So,
and you know what, guys? After the Super Bowl, there's pretty much nothing else going on. So you hit it right on. February is kind of like a blob month, until you get to March. So it's like this is perfect timing.
I did it on that, and honestly, I will say, Chris from Aviante, he and I were brainstorming on this, and we felt like in the 20s of February was the perfect spot because you kind of come out of the Super Bowl and kind of the winter. You started coming out of the cave from hibernation. And then you kick off conference season. Obviously, we've got a few kind of the smaller conferences coming up, but then you got Exec Forum at the end of March out in Las Vegas on kind of the other side of the country. So a few weeks after the summit. So we felt like we definitely threaded the needle pretty well on this one. And we also wanted it early in the year, right? Because we want salespeople enough time to take these techniques and then go make their year because I'm still shocked by this number. This blows me away. But Mike and Marianne from Butler Street shared this from Exec Forum from the stage last year. That just under 25% of salespeople hit their goals. And I was just like, how is that even possible? Like, how do we tolerate that? And I was like, wow. It's like, because there's no staffing sales summit. So we got to make that, we got to bring it up. We got to change. We got to bring that number up. Like we got to at least get half, like 50% of us got to hit our goals. I mean, come on.
Be a sales shark. Let's go. Shark it, man.
Yeah. That's right. For future sales summits, Dan, it'd be great if you had some sort of follow-up loop going on in a chat where people could say, hey, I learned this at the sales summit. I applied it. It did this for me, helped me reach my goals. Just creating that buzz and adding, showing the value that can be added. Again, people need to invest in themselves to go to this thing. They need to invest in themselves to learn, and then they need to apply it. That's the key.
Yeah, and you're right. And that's actually a great idea, John. I might actually add that into our follow-up cadence to be getting testimonials throughout the year for people that attend. Just to check in and see how they're doing and how they're applying it. And you're right. It is an investment. I'm fully aware that it is not the least expensive conference out there, and I had a choice, do I basically put this together on a shoestring budget and bring in kind of like the C and B tier trainers and kind of do this cheap, or do I do it right? And you saw the lineup that I have, you see the venue that I have, like it's going to be amazing food and beverage. It's going to be an amazing event throughout. So we had to do it right, and I honestly looked at it. I'm a data guy. You guys know this about me now. And I actually know the numbers. If somebody literally can go to this event And if they can actually get just one more client based on something that they learn at this event, it's ROI positive for them, including travel and ticket and all of that stuff. So it is an investment, but the reality is people that pay attention. And I need everyone in that room to pay attention so they take away the nuggets and they apply it so they can get better.
Well
Dude,
said.
This is like a certification, John. You know that. Seriously, a self-certification in 2 days. I mean, this is,
And it's something that's desperately needed right now. So those that are smart will make the investment in themselves and go.
And it's the complete sales cycle too, guys. I mean, what Dan did to put together, how he talked about it, John, it's everything from A to Z, man.
He walks the walk and talks the talk.
It's true. And there's some other stuff on the agenda that's going to be a surprise. I got some things that I'll be sharing. And one other thing I actually want to mention too, that it's not just the summit that people will get access to, because I know that going to Orlando for a couple of days, training does need to be ongoing. So anybody that actually registers for the event by January 31st is also going to get my Staffing Mastery's 5-week prospecting masterclass that is literally 10 hours of content talking exactly about how to basically master prospecting, how to get more prospects and clients into your funnel. And then also they're going to get a 5-week sales masterclass where I teach the fundamental techniques for how do you actually navigate sales, how do you, kind of handle objections, the questioning strategies used to actually acquire clients, how to sell based on value. Anyone that registers by the end of this month is actually going to get access to those 2 master classes, which are the 2 most popular courses I've ever delivered. And we're also including, which they'll get this when they get to the event, a copy of Tom's book, Winning the Staffing Sales Game, because it's a rock solid book. So they're not just getting a ticket to the event. They're actually getting a whole lot of other stuff that they can continue to use beyond the event. And those master classes alone are $997 each one. So
I was going to say that alone is a huge benefit for registering. That's awesome.
Yeah, the takeaways are going to be unlimited. I mean, seriously, Dan, what you put together here, I'm going to tell you straight up, man, this is something that's like that we've never done in our industry before, man. Seriously, this is something that, if you can't win from this, it's almost like, I hate to say, like the Bill Belichick. I mean, this is like, you're going to win 6 Super Bowls. You're going to crush it, man. Just coming to this.
I hope so, man. I really do. I want the people that come out of this session or this conference or this summit to really hit their goals, because I know how it feels to win. It feels amazing. And I know how it feels to lose, and if people can take these skills and sell better and grow and hit their goals and uplift their agency and uplift the industry, that's really what I'm trying to do here and give back. So I'm excited about it. And I love the affirmation and the feedback from you guys.
Awesome, man. Hey, Johnny, any final thoughts, brother, before we get out of here?
There's a few things that ring true to me. I love that you said people that pay attention. It's true. You got to invest in yourself. And if you make the investment, you go into it with the mindset of, hey, I'm here to get something out of it. And that's got to be the mindset of those that are going there. The fact that 25% of sales professionals actually hit their goals, that in and of itself says, you know what you're doing is not working. So why not invest in yourself and get better and get back to the relationship building and solving problems. So really, really excited for this, Dan, and really proud of you for putting it together. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, I can't say any more, man. I'm excited to be there, part of it. I mean, I got to tell you, don't miss out, my friends. Staffing Fun in the Sun, man. We're going to have so much fun. You're going to be educated. You're going to meet all these keynote speakers. I mean, it's going to be a blast. Dan, thank you again, man. I can't wait to see you in February, brother.
All right, guys. See you at the summit.
Be there.
Great stuff. Take care.